So there you have it. You have your 4 types of slope. You have your increasing slope, which is a positive slope. You have your decreasing slope, which is a negative slope. You have your horizontal slope, which is a 0 slope. And you have your vertical slope, which is an undefined slope, because technically in the real world this couldn't happen, but sometimes mathematically it does. There's your quick review. All right, so there are 3 ways to find slope. We will be working on this number 3 way in 4.3, so you don't have to worry about that right now. But we are going to look at the other ways to find slope. And let's begin. The other ways to find slope is by looking at a graph. 1 second. Is by looking at a graph. You can find slope by simply counting on a graph. So we're going to put our steps here. I have it written right here, but don't worry about it. Okay? So when we look at a graph, we can find slope in a variety of ways. But the first thing we need to do is to identify 2 points on the line. If we look here at this one, we see that there are many points on the line. You only need to identify 2 of them. Once you identify 2 points, then we can find out how much up or down it goes and how much left or right it goes to get to the next point. This is also called the change in y over the change in x. That's why we go up or down first, and then we go left or right. So here, if I have this point 1, comma, -1, and I have this point 4, comma 1, even if this had labels, if this was weeks in dollars, which I know it's not a great label to use, but if I have weeks in dollars, which makes more sense, to say weeks per dollar or dollars per week? Well, it makes more sense to say dollars per week. And that means that it's going to be y over x. Again, I'm trying to push this into your brain that it's y over x. So we have to look at the change in y over the change in x, also known as delta y over delta x. That'll give us our slope. Other people like to call it rise over run. Rise because that's how much you go up or down. Run is how much you go left or right. Some people like rise over run because they think it's easier to remember because you have to rise before you run, etc. So let's look at from 1 to -1 to 4, comma 1. We rise 2, we go up 2 plus 2, and we run 1, 2, 3, 3 to the right 3. I don't like to use rise and run, but a lot of people do, and a lot of people have learned in that way. So we go up 2 to the right 3. Then I'm going to make a fraction into that. How much up or down? 2 over 3. My change in y over my change in x. We can also do the opposite. We can go down 2, and to the left 3, -2 over -3. A negative divided by a negative is a positive, and my slope is still a positive 2/3. So this is how you do it on a graph. You should notice that even if I had chosen, let me erase these, even if I had chosen this point and this point, I go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, up 6, and to the right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, to the right 9. These can both be divided by 3, and I get 2/3. So I still get the same slope regardless. So what, and then it's constantly going to be that same slope. It's constantly up 2 to the right, 3 to the next point, up 2 to the right, 3 to the next point, up 2 to the right, 3 to the next point, or down 2 to the left, 3 to the next point, down 2 to the left, 3. So you have the opposite slopes. So we identified 2 points on the line. Then we look how much up or down, that's your change in y, delta y. And then we look at how much right or left. We'll do right or left. And that is your change in x or delta x. And then we simplify. You always need to simplify. Okay, so let's look at another thing. Here, my slope, let me erase all of this stuff over here. Here we look, and our slope is 2/3. We said m equals 2/3. We can check and look and see this line is an increasing line. It's going up. So we know that this means I have to have a positive slope. So my answer must be positive. Had I said, oh, it goes down 2 and to the left 3, and I wrongly simplified that as -2/3, that's a negative slope. That means it would be going down. And that automatically tells me that I did it wrong, because this is not a negative slope. This is a positive slope. It's an increasing slope. So this is a positive increasing slope, which is the same as a -2 over a -3, because that makes positive. All right, next we're gonna do an example. Let's look at our example. Here I have 2 points on a graph that are already identified for me. Use these, because one of my 10 million videos that I've made, I made a mistake and I thought that this was a point, and it wasn't. And so then I did all this problem, and then I realized I had the wrong answer, and then I looked silly. So we're going to use these 2 points, all right? And we're going to look, our rise over run, our change in y over change in x. How much up or down versus how much right or left. So we go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We go up 8, and to the right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the same as +8 over a +5. Can I simplify that? No. So my slope is 8 over 5, and it's positive. My line should be an increasing line. And yes, that's true. It is. It's increasing, positive. It is going up. So that's great. We have positive 8/5 as our slope. If I kept going, I could go up 8 more, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and to the right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it would eventually hit the line. Now, I didn't draw that perfectly. I could go down the opposite slope. To find the opposite slope, which is in the opposite direction, we just take the opposite sign. If 8 is positive, now I do negative 8. If 5 is positive, I do negative 5. So that means down 8 to the left 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that would still land on the line. All right, so now let's look at our slope from 2 points. Our slope from 2 points. Now, I just have this here to show you where it comes from. That here we have the slope equation, okay? And we have our 2 points on the line. What if I don't have a graph? What if I only have the 2 points? Well, then we use the slope equation. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And we have 2 points, an x and a y, and an x and a y. And we talked about these sub-numbers, labeling one as the first one is the second one. Now, really, since we've talked about our opposite slope, it doesn't matter which one you choose. In this case, they chose this one to be the second one, this one to be the first one. I could have also chosen this to be my second one, and this to be my first one. It does not matter which one you choose to be your first coordinate and which one you choose to be your second coordinate, as long as your x and y are together. So for example, take a look. If I chose this to be my first coordinate and this to be my second coordinate, to get there, I'd go up 1, 2, 3 to the right, so up 3 to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4. I get a positive 3/4. But had I chose this to be my first one and this to be my second one, I go down 1, 2, 3, so down 3 and to the left 4. Positive divided by positive, negative divided by negative is a positive, so it's positive 3/4. So no matter what, I still get the same answer. That's the opposite slope. So here when I have 2 points and I don't have a graph, what I can do is I can decide which one I want to be my first coordinate and my second coordinate. Either one, it doesn't make a difference. I know they're both x, y. What does matter is if I want this to be my first coordinate, then it's going to be my x1, y1. If I want this to be my second coordinate, then it's going to be my x2, y2. If this is my y and this is my x, I have the equation m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So what I'm going to do is plug these in to the correct spot. Now remember, like I said, if these are your first coordinate, that's your x1, y1. If this is your second coordinate, that's your x2, y2. You can never put x1 and y2 together, because you would be saying that's there and that's there. And 4 comma negative 1 is not the point. That's not the point. It's 4 comma 3 or negative 2 comma negative 1. So here I have m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug this in for my y2 and this in for my y1. And then I'm going to plug this in to my x2 and this into my x1. Now I know that looks confusing, but let's draw it. M equals, so here I have y2 which is -1, minus, take a look, this minus sign, because it's the change in, it's part of the equation. That minus sign is there, and then my y1, which is 3, over x2, which is -2, minus, because there's the minus in the equation, we're finding the difference, minus my x1, which is 4. And now what I do is solve, and I'm going to erase that so that it's not too confusing. So I have 0, -1, and I subtract 3 more, so I get -4. Here I have 0, and I'm at -2, and I subtract 4 more, and that gives me -6. A negative divided by a negative is a positive, so I get 4, 6. You never, ever, ever leave negative over a negative. And then we divide to simplify, and 4 divided by 2 is 2, 6 divided by 2 is 3. So I get m equaling 2/3. Now, what if I had wrote them in the different order? Let's look. What if I would have said, actually, I want this to be my x1, y1, and this to be my x2, y2. That's fine. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I'm going to plug in my y2, which is 3. And now I'm going to plug in my minus sign, which is minus. And let's look, my y1. y1 is -1. -1 gets plugged in. That is not the same as that subtraction sign. It is 3 minus whatever my y1 is. So it's 3 minus a -1 over x2, which is 4, minus, that minus gets brought over, okay, and x1. x1 is a -2, so I plug in -2. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not 3 minus 1, 4 minus 2. This is 3 minus a -1 and 4 minus a -2. So let's look. Remember, minus a minus is the same as plus, because you're taking away a debt. You're taking away a negative. You're subtracting a negative. It's the same as plus. So this gets 4 over 6, which we can simplify to 2/3. So in the end, we still get the same answer either way. We are going to go through this together, this next one together. I'm going to have you try it on your own. I'm not going to walk through it. I'm just going to do it. Okay, but I do know this is xy, xy. I'm going to do it in both ways. And I'm going to have you decide which one you want to be your x1, y1, which one you want to be your x2, y2. And I'm just going to go through and do it. I'm not going to walk through it slowly. I'm going to do it. So I want you trying it on your own. All right, here we go. This one I'm going to first, though, do in that order, and this one I'm going to do in this order. -6 minus 4. It's that minus that negative. 0, -6 minus 4 more is -10, and 0 minus a -5 is the same as plus. I get negative 10 divided by 5, and negative divided by a negative is a negative 10 divided by 2. So it can be 2 over 1 or just negative 2. This way, I should get the exact same answer. Minus a negative 6 because it's minus, and y1 is a negative 6. Minus a negative is a positive. A positive divided by a negative is the same as a negative. Remember, I told you always move that negative up to the top. So if you get this, you move the negative up to the top. So I get the exact same answer. So there's a few things to remember when we're talking about slope. Okay? Slope always is represented by the variable m. It is the change in y over the change in x, delta y over delta x. We get our y2 minus y1, which is our dependent variable over our independent variable. Rise over run means how much up or down, over right or left. You can pick any 2 points on a line to calculate the slope, because no matter what, your slope is always going to be the same. Then you can double check your answer by plugging in 2 different points again, because they're always going to be the exact same between any 2 points, even between 2 far away points, because the answer will simplify to being the same. You have positive slopes, you have negative slopes, you have their opposite, which you can go either up and to the right, down and to the left, etc. Please, you need to do this exit slip. This exit slip is the last page. It has 4 problems on it. You're going to find the slope, the rate of change, but using the 2 points. Then you're going to find the slope or the rate of change using the lines from the graph. Please turn this into teams and assignments. Have a wonderful day. I hope you guys understood, and I'm here if you have any questions.